What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the video here on the Water Juice channel, and today CBS just released yesterday their top 100 NFL players list for the 2021 season. And you know I had to jump on it. You know your boy had to jump on it and see if I agree with their top 100 list. Now, going through 100 players in one video is going to take a while, so I'm going to split this up 50-50 and do 100 to 50 and then 49 to 1, right? Is that how you do it? 100 to 51 and then 50 to 1. Whatever the 50-50 split is, I'm going to be doing that over the next two episodes or the next two videos. So sit back, get some popcorn, because I might be tearing into CBS Sports. Let's get into it. All right, so like I said, we're going to be doing 100, starting with 100 first, and the 100th best player in the NFL right now they have is Legerius Sneed. They have a little bit of a description underneath each one, so I might as well read it. Some might be surprised to see him on this list. They shouldn't be. As a rookie, he was outstanding coverage for the Chiefs. In his second season, he'll be a Pro Bowl player. So, fine. I mean, Legerius Sneed's a really good player. I agree with him on this list. I don't have a problem with it. Number 99, Darius Williams. He is the other corner on the Rams defense. He had an impressive season in 2020. He showed off some big-time cover skills. Now he has to show he can do it again. That's good. Obviously, the other corner they're talking about is Jalen Ramsey, of course. So having Darius Williams on this list doesn't really matter that much. Now, 98 is where I have a little bit of a problem. Tyler Lockett is their number 98. He had his best season with 100 catches and 10 touchdowns. He's a perfect complement to DK Metcalf on the other side. I think that Tyler Lockett is a bit too low on this list. Maybe having him 98 is a little harsh. I think that Tyler Lockett is one of the better receivers in the league. He's definitely one of the most underrated receivers in the league. I think that Tyler Lockett probably should be in the 60s, maybe even the 50s if we're getting kind of crazy. I don't think he deserves to be in the 90s. I think he's a much better receiver than that. Number 97, they have Adam Thielen. All he does is keep putting up impressive numbers. He had 14 touchdown catches last season to go with his 74 catches. He did get hurt, I'm pretty sure, either last season or the season before. I can't remember. The two seasons get like jumbled in my head because it's been such a crazy couple of years. But Adam Thielen down here, if this was a couple seasons ago, Adam Thielen's probably in the top 50. But last season, 14 touchdowns, 74 catches. That's a really good season, but Adam Thielen's a much better receiver than 97. I think he should be bumped up a little bit more. 96, they have Wyatt Teller. He came from Buffalo in a trade a few years back and has emerged as one of the best guards in the league. His ability to move in their scheme is impressive. He has a nasty streak. Wyatt Teller in here is a good pick at 96. I agree with it. I think that Wyatt Teller is one of the better offensive linemen in the league, and having him at 96 is good. I wouldn't argue with it that much. Moving on to 95, they have the rookie, should have been rookie of the year if he would have played all season, Joe Burrow. If he had played the entire rookie season, he would be higher on this list. My prediction is he will be much higher on this list next year. Exactly. That is exactly word for word how I would put it. Joe Burrow definitely should be higher on this list, but he only played 10 games, so you can't put him higher on that list. He has to be down here in the low. But next season, if he does just as good as he did last season, he'll definitely be in the 60s, the 50s, maybe in the 40s if he has an amazing season. 94 is Kyla Murray. That's an interesting one. He was 29 yards short of 4,000 passing yards and less than 200 away from 1,000 rushing yards last season. That tells you the type of threat he is as a quarterback. He needs to be more consistent week in and week out and faded some down the stretch last season. He did fade down the stretch, but he also was hurt last season. He had some shoulder problems. I think he had some ankle problems. The thing with Kyler Murray for me is Kyler Murray is such a little guy that I wasn't sure when he was coming into the league if he was going to be able to hold up to the 16, now 17 games in the NFL. And last season kind of proved that a little bit. he kind of started to get banged up. The defense caught up to him, and when they caught up to him, they hurt him. And so I don't know how I feel about Kyla Murray. He's a really good player, really good quarterback. He's got a cannon of an arm, but will he be able to hold up in the league? I don't know. I just don't know. He's just not the biggest guy. And there's a problem when you're a quarterback and you're a little tiny guy. It's just a problem. It's just facts. So there's nothing against the guy, but I think this is perfect for where he should be because he just has injury concerns because he's so small. Number 93 is Kirk Cousins. He had an impressive season in 2020, throwing for a career-high 35 touchdowns. He did throw 13 picks, which is more than double the year before. Kirk Cousins, I don't think is that good of a quarterback. He can manage games. He can win you a game or two. I don't really like Kirk Cousins that much. I don't think he's that good of a quarterback. 93 probably should be a little bit lower. I'd probably put like Wyatt Teller and Adam Thielen above Kirk Cousins, but that's just my opinion. So having him down here is a good spot for him in this 90s range is where I would have Kirk Cousins for sure. 92 is Jamal Adams. He had 9.5 sacks for the Seahawks last season, showing off his ability to blitz and play near the line of scrimmage. He struggled at times in coverage, which is not his best strong suit. Yes, he's not the greatest cover guy, but him hitting the quarterback or hitting a receiver or a running back is his strong suit. And if you guys are OGs of the channel, you know how much I love Jamal Adams. So having him down in 92 is a little bit hurtful, in my opinion. I think he should be just a bit higher, maybe in the low 80s, high 70s in that area. But having him in 92, maybe should be a little bit higher. I think Jamal Adams is a very good player, but I don't really hate the fact that he's in the low or the high 90s. 91 is Elton Jenkins. As a rookie, he was an impressive looking player. He played guard, tackle, and center. He's a player. He's a power player who should be one of the league's best this season. Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Elton Jenkins is one of the best offensive linemen in the league. He's very versatile. He can do everything for Aaron Rodgers, if Aaron Rodgers is even there this season. I like Elton Jenkins. I think he's one of the better offensive linemen in the league. And having him in 91, a little bit low, but it's good. It's good. I'm not going to argue with that too much. Now we're getting to the 90s. Well, the 80s. Number 90 is Derwin James. He has battled through a ton of injuries, which is why he's down low on this list. But if he can stay on the field, he should be much higher on this list next year. But availability is the best ability. Yes, that's correct. Derwin James does have injury history. He was out last season. I really think he's a good player. He's nice, young, aggressive tackler like Jamal Adams. He plays a little bit similar to Jamal Adams. So he's very fast, good cover guy, good hitter. I think he could definitely be higher on this list. I agree with them on this pick. 89 is DJ Moore. His catch numbers went from 87 in 2019 to 66 last season. That would be a cause for concern. But his yards per catch average ballooned from 13.5 to 18.1. That shows he was all about the big plays, tying the league lead for 6 receptions of 40 yards or more. But you got to remember, last season he had Teddy Bridgewater. And Bridgewater struggled, but still won some games. Didn't really favor DJ Moore that much. So having Sam Darnold there this season, I assume is going to help out DJ Moore a bit, but that's just me thinking that Sam Darnold is going to be a better quarterback in Carolina than he was in New York. I hope he is, just for the sake of the league. I hope that Sam Darnold is a better player, but it all really depends. DJ Moore's career really just depends on how Sam Darnold plays. 88 is Matt Stafford. Playing on a bad Lions team last season, he threw 26 touchdown passes, 10 picks. He was traded to the Rams this spring in a blockbuster deal that I think will make his numbers go way up. He's a better player than he is perceived to be. Exactly. That's perfect. He is a better player than he is perceived to be. That is exactly how I describe Matt Stafford when I talk about him. He is a much better player on the field than people give him credit for. Yes, he's had back injuries. Yes, he's had thumb injuries. He's had a list of injuries in his career, but Matt Stafford is one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and pairing him up in this Rams offense, getting a better quarterback in there than Jared Goff, I think Matt Stafford's numbers are going to go way up. And the Rams are going to be a pretty decent team this year. So next season, Matt Stafford might be a little bit higher in this list. 87 is Saquon Barkley. Now, you can argue that even with his ACL injury, Barkley should still be up in the top half, but they say he's coming off a torn ACL suffered in Week 2 last season, which limited him to 34 yards rushing for the year. He did have 2 impressive seasons to open his career. He did. But he can he get back to that same level that he flashed as a rookie in 2018? I think he can. I think Saquon Barkley is going to come back, and he's going to come back stronger. He's going to come back faster. He's going to be a demon this season. I think Saquon Barkley is going to be a monster when he comes back onto the field in 2021. So next season we might be seeing both of these guys up a little bit higher on this list. 86 is Joel Bitonio. He is smart, athletic lineman who is a key to their run game. That's true. He has also improved in the pass protection last few seasons, and he started 16 games each of the past 4 seasons. So he's consistent, he's athletic, he's smart, he's one of the better offensive linemen in the league. Joel Bitonio deserves to be around this area, maybe a little bit higher, but definitely deserves to be in this spot on the list. He's a very good lineman. 85, Frank Ragnow. He was one of the best centers in the game last season. I don't know if he was one of the best. He might have been the best center in the game. He just got a bag, too. So, which is why the Lions smartly rewarded him with a new contract. Exactly. He is the anchor for what should be a good offensive line in 2021. Frank Ragnow probably should be higher on this list. I think, for my money, Frank Ragnow was the best center in the league last season. And having him down at 85, maybe he needs to prove it another season to show some consistency. But I think Frank Ragnow should be a little bit higher on this list. 84 is Aaron Jones. His ability to be a threat as both a runner and a receiver is part of Green Bay's offense. He creates matchup issues for defense, which is why Green Bay brought him back as a free agent. That is exactly right. The big question about Aaron Jones is who's going to be his quarterback? Who's going to be throwing in the football? Will it be Aaron Rodgers or will it be Jordan Love? I don't know. I think that I think that Aaron Jones will succeed no matter who's giving him the ball because he's just that good of a running back. He's very versatile. He's very quick, good hands, smart runner. He's going to do well. Aaron Jones will do well no matter the situation he's in Green Bay. 83 is Matt Ryan. Now here's an interesting one because Matt Ryan I think should be a little bit lower on this list. I would actually put if Joe Burrow didn't get hurt, I'd probably put Joe Burrow ahead of Matt Ryan, and definitely I would put Matt Stafford ahead of Matt Ryan because I don't think Matt Ryan's that great. Not anymore, at least. He's thrown at least 20 touchdown passes in 12 consecutive seasons, throwing 26 in 2020. He also threw for 4,500 yards, playing in front of a bad offensive line. At 35, he has some good football left in his right arm. Maybe he does. Maybe. I don't. Especially if they trade Julio Jones, I don't think that Matt Ryan's got it left in him. He's got Kyle Pitts, he's got Calvin Ridley, but I just don't think that Matt Ryan has any good football left. Maybe he'll surprise me and he'll be very good this season. I don't know. 82 is Tristan Wirfs, one of the young offensive tackles in the league. As a rookie, he stepped in as a starter at right tackle and solidified a line that became one of the best in the league. He was dominant from the start of the season, straight through the Super Bowl victory over Kansas City. He was very, very good in the Super Bowl. He held up very well against that Chiefs defensive line. And he held up very well during the entire season. I think Tristan Wirfs is in a good spot here. I agree with that. 81, Odell Beckham Jr. This is more about what I think he can do when he's healthy. He played 16 games in a season once in his 7th season. Whoa, that's crazy. I didn't even know that. He played just 7 games last season when he tore his ACL. But this is based on what he can do when he's healthy. He is a very, very scary wide receiver when he's on the field. He's dynamic. He's quick. He's smart. He's got great hands. He can do anything at wide receiver. And definitely, if he didn't get injured, he'd probably be higher on this list. I hope he stays healthy all season because I just like to watch Odell Beckham Jr. because he's just that good. And now we're headed into the 70s. At number 80 is Tyron Armstead. He continues to be an outstanding pass protector on the left side of the Saints line. Entering his 9th season, he also improved as a run blocker, which is important with Drew Brees now retired. That is exactly right. He's going to have to be an even better run blocker with Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston there so that they can get Alvin Kamara running the football even more to protect whoever is at quarterback. I think this is a good spot for Tyron Armstead. Number 79, Justin Simmons. He had another impressive season in 2020, which earned him a big contract that makes him the highest paid safety in the league. He has the range teams love in the middle of the field. That is right. He can go coast to coast, basically. He can cover that entire middle of the field. Justin Simmons is a very good safety. I would love to have him on the Patriots, but he just got a bag, so can't get him on the Patriots. 79 is a good spot, maybe a little bit higher. 78 is Tre'Davious White. He started slowly last season after signing a big contract, but he rounded into form quickly. He is capable of playing in the zone and can also match up with some of the best receivers if asked to do so. That is correct. Tre'Davious White is a number one corner. He can go up against your number one wide receiver and lock them down. That's how good Tre'Davious White is. Number 77, Harrison Smith. Now, this is interesting. I would probably put Justin Simmons ahead of Harrison Smith, but not by a lot, because I feel like Justin Simmons is a little bit better than Smith, but Harrison Smith, don't get me wrong, is still really good. At 32, he still has some good football left to play. He wasn't as good last season as he was the year before, but he had to deal with a lot of new faces in the secondary, and that matters. That does matter. Throws off your rhythm a little bit. And 77 is a good spot for him. Maybe you move Justin Simmons up to like 75, 76. I don't think he's that much higher than Harrison Smith, but I would put him ahead of him. Number 76 is Keenan Allen. He was banged up last year, like he usually is. Yet he still caught 100 passes with 8 touchdowns. The injuries did make his yards per catch average drop to 9.9, which is concerning. He'll get back to that, especially with Justin Herbert, who's looking to be one of the better young quarterbacks in the league. He'll definitely get back to a higher yards per catch average. He'll get back to more catches, 100 passes, more touchdowns. I think the Chargers will have a good season with Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert there. 75, Danielle Hunter. He missed all of 2020 with a herniated disc in his neck. Hunter is coming off consecutive double-digit sack seasons, and he was sorely missed. He's expected to be back fully this season, although he does want a new contract, and that has kept him away from the team activities. Do you give Danielle Hunter a contract if you are the Vikings? I don't. I wouldn't give Danielle Hunter a new contract. He's reaching 30. I don't think he is 30 yet, but he's getting up there, and with the injuries, he missed all of last season with a herniated disc. He hasn't been the most injured person, but there's been some concerns there, especially with this new neck injury. I wouldn't give him a contract. I'd tag him, but I wouldn't give him a contract. Not yet, at least. He'd have to prove a season where he stays healthy the whole year before I'd give him a contract. 74 is Garrett Bowles. After a disappointing start to his career, he flourished last season with the Broncos. His impressive play earned him a big contract extension. Yeah, Garrett Bowles is one of those guys where I never thought would be anything in the league, and then he just turned it around one year. Just had a great season last year and became one of the better offensive tackles in the league. And so he deserved a contract extension. I think he's perfect on this. Maybe a little bit lower. I'd probably have Tyron Armstead a little bit higher than Garrett Bowles. I do prefer Armstead more than Bowles, but having Bowles up here is fine. I'm not mad at it. 73, Miles Jack. He had one of his best seasons. He had his best season in 2020 after moving to the weak side linebacker spot. He is one of the best off-ball linebackers in the league last season, but it was lost because he played on a bad team. Exactly. The Jacksonville Jaguars probably will not be any better. I shouldn't say that. They're probably going to be a little bit better because they won one game last season. So I think they'll definitely win more than one game this season. And Miles Jack, very good player, does have some injury concerns with some knee injuries, but other than that, when he's healthy, he's one of the best linebackers in the league. He's quick, he can cover, he's good. He's a real good linebacker. I like this spot. 72 is A.J. Brown. In a run-heavy offense, he has become the big play threat in their passing game. Brown had 70 catches last season with 11 touchdowns. He had 20 touchdown receptions in the past 2 seasons. I had him on my fantasy team this past season, and he did all right for me. He got me some big points, but he wasn't as consistent as I would like to have my receivers be, and that's mainly on Ryan Tannehill because he had 2 good options with Corey Davis and A.J. Brown. Funny enough, I had both of them on my team. So I'm probably going to pick up A.J. Brown again in fantasy if I have the opportunity to because I really like his game. He's a big body receiver just like a DK. So I like A.J. Brown. I think he's a good player. 71 is Stefan Gilmore. His play slipped in 2020, especially in coverage. Yeah, you're telling me. This was mainly due to injuries, which is concerning since he's 30. But I think in a year where he has to show he can still be a top corner, he will respond with a better season. Now, this is interesting. Because there's tons of trade rumors, tons and tons of trade rumors about Stefan Gilmore being moved this offseason. And I've been kind of conflicted on what I think about that. Because I personally think that we should keep Stefan Gilmore. He was Defensive Player of the Year, I think, right? Was he Defensive Player of the Year or just best corner? I don't know. One of the two, just a couple of seasons ago in 2019. Yeah, he had a bad 2020, but everybody on the Patriots had a bad 2020. So you can't really count that against him because the whole season was just bad for everybody. So if he has a good 2021, unless somebody's offering a first-round pick, then I think they should keep him. That's just my opinion. Now we're getting into the 60s. Number 70 is Ronnie Stanley. His season was cut short after 6 games in 2020 when he suffered a fractured ankle. Before the injury, he signed a big contract extension because he's such an integral part of the offense as one of the best tackles in the game. Ronnie Stanley's pretty good. Ronnie Stanley is very, 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 very good. He deserves that money. As long as he can stay healthy, he's one of the better tackles in the league. I'd probably have him over Brandon Sheriff, but Brandon Sheriff's definitely better. Or definitely really good. But I'd probably have them switched. 69, nice, is Brandon Sheriff. He's one of the best guards in the league, a player who's good in both the run and the pass game. It's why Washington brought him back on the franchise tag for another year. I don't think they're going to pay him. I think they're going to tag him again if they have the opportunity to, because offensive line's tricky. You either have an offensive lineman that's a stalwart that's there for 15, 20 years, or you have a guy that is injury prone and just not that good, and there's really not a lot of in between. There's a little bit, but there's not really that much. Brandon Scherf's probably more towards the stalwart type, but depending on what the football team decides to do, I don't think they're going to sign him yet. I think they'll tag him again. 68 is Corey Linsley from the Chargers, recently of the Packers. He was an important part of the Green Bay Packers offense the last few seasons in front of Aaron Rodgers. Now he'll fill that same role for Justin Herbert, which is an important thing for a young quarterback. Corey Linsley has turned himself into one of the best centers in the league. And I'm happy for him because he's a former Buckeye, so I love to see former Buckeyes do well in the NFL. He didn't start off the greatest, but when he got his opportunity, he worked at it, and he's one of the better centers in the league now. He just got a bag from the Chargers, too, so 67 is Calvin Ridley. With Julio Jones hurt for some of the year and possibly being traded, Ridley had his best season, catching 90 passes with 9 touchdowns. He averaged 15.3 yards per catch and was 4th in the league in yards receiving per game with 90.1. He also tied for the league lead with 23 catches of 20 yards or more. Calvin Ridley is going to be number 1, no matter if Julio Jones is there or not. Calvin Ridley, they're moving him into number 1 receiver territory. I think that Julio Jones will be gone anyway. So him and Kyle Pitts, it's their show. They're going to have to show out. And I think Calvin Ridley's a good enough receiver to be able to have another good season. I think he's going to do well. 66 is J.J. Watt. He isn't what he was a few years back, but he can still play at a Pro Bowl level. His ability to be his ability to be a disruptor up front is still evident when you pop on the tape. J.J. Watt moving to Arizona is an interesting one. How will he play? Is Chandler Jones going to be healthy this season? Is that defense going to be better? I hope so, because I think the Cardinals are going to be good this year as long as Kyla Murray stays healthy. And J.J. Watt coming off that edge, he's going to have a good season. I think this spot is really good for him. 65, Cameron Hayward. His sack numbers fell off from 9 to 4 last season, but he still had 19 quarterback hits. He's also a good run player, which is key in their scheme. Also, he's getting a little bit old. He's like 32, 33, maybe. So he's getting up there in age, and defensive ends that are up there in age don't have that same explosiveness as they did when they were 23, 24, 25, obviously. So I'd probably have Cam Hayward a little bit lower, but he's still a very productive defensive end, still a productive pass rusher, and he's a former Buckeye too, so I love to see it. 64 is Andrew Whitworth. He was limited to 9 games last season, which really impacted the Rams offense. When he's healthy, he's important as the backside protector, which means for Matt Stafford this year. So he's going to be covering Matt Stafford's blind side this year. Andrew Whitworth's one of those guys where he fits that stalwart 15-year pro that is a Hall of Fame type player like Joe Thomas. Andrew Whitworth is probably going to be in the Hall of Fame, and I think he's going to have another good season as long as he can stay healthy, because that offense is going to be humming with Matt Stafford behind there. That's my prediction. So Andrew Whitworth, good spot on this list at 64. And 63 is Nick Chubb, who is, for my money, top 3 running backs in the league. Maybe top 5. Yeah, top 5. Top 5 running backs in the league. Nick Chubb, he was limited to 12 games in 2020, so his numbers came down from the year before. He still rushed for 1,000 yards. Best thing in his rush per yards went from 5 to 5.6. That tells you he still showed off his big playability. This man is so hard to tackle that I can see why his yards per rush went up from 5 to 5.6. He's really good. Nick Chubb's really good. Good spot for him. Maybe a little bit higher, but good spot. 62, Mike Evans. He had another solid season in 2020. Yeah, it helps when you're getting passes thrown to you by the GOAT. Getting a career-high 13 touchdown catches. He caught 70 passes, but his average per catch went down from 17.3 to 14.4. He did battle some injuries. That could have impacted his numbers. Yeah, he did battle some injuries, but having Tom Brady throw to instead of Jameis Winston is a much better thing. So he's going to have another good season. Demario Davis is 61. He wasn't quite as good as he was the year before, but he remained a good player on their defense. He is a player who can run the football and do a lot of good things in coverage. He doesn't get the due he deserves. I think Demario Davis' best years are behind him. I think that he is slipping just a bit, and so he's still going to have a pretty productive season this year, but I don't think he's going to be the same guy that he was in the past. Good spot for him at 61, though. 60 is Mika Fitzpatrick. I left him off this list. I left him off the list last year and heard plenty about it. He earned his right to be on the list this season after a slow start to 2020. He's rangy. He's a rangy safety that fits perfectly in the NFL game. Minka Fitzpatrick is a very odd thing because he either goes crazy and picks off like 4 passes in 4 weeks, or he's like invisible. So 60 is a good spot, maybe a little bit lower, but around that 60, 70 range is probably where I would put Minka. 59 is Chris Godwin. He played just 12 games last season, so his numbers dropped off in the previous year. He still got 65 passes with 7 touchdowns. He did fracture his finger that seemed to slow his start. His fast start for last season. Obviously, the same kind of situation with Mike Evans. He's going to have a good season because he's got Tom Brady throwing him the football, just like he did last year. The Bucs are going to be the Bucs. They're going to be good this year. As long as Godwin and Evans can stay healthy, along with Antonio Brown and Gronkowski, they're going to be good again. 58 is Jesse Bates. He's one of the most underrated players in the league. Exactly. He is one of the most underrated players in the league. Jesse Bates is awesome. Bates plays in the anonymity. Sheesh! I didn't know what that word said for a second. In the anonymity in Cincinnati. I think I'm saying that right. But please take note, he's a heck of a player. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. That's all I have to say. Jesse Bates is really good. 57 is Big Zeke Elliott. Elliott is coming off a disappointing 2020 season. Yeah, we get it. Career lows in yards and his average. Line was banged up in front of him, but this is a big prove-it year for Elliott coming up in 2021. It is a big prove-it year for Elliott. I think if he doesn't have a good season this year, the Cowboys might look to trade him. And that's not just me saying that. I think that might be happening. 56 is Shaq Barrett. He saw his sack numbers fall from 19.5 to 8 last season, but he still was a big part of what the Tampa Bay defense did. Then in the postseason, he amped it up as the Bucs won it all, getting 4 sacks in the playoffs. He balled out in the playoffs. That whole defense did. And not just in the Super Bowl, in the entire playoff bracket. So Shaq Barrett deserves to be definitely in the 50s. 55 is Mike Thomas. Now, before we get into the description for Mike Thomas, a lot of people have a lot of hate for Mike Thomas because he whines and cries on Twitter. But this guy, this isn't just coming from a Buckeye fan. This is coming from an NFL fan. This guy is the real deal. He's one of the better wide receivers in the league. Just because he cries on Twitter doesn't mean that he's not a great wide receiver. He just doesn't have that likable of a personality. But who does? Who does? Not everybody can be me. So let's read his description. His 2020 season was a disappointment in a lot of ways. He was hurt. He did get hurt a lot. Drew Brees was hurt as well, so he couldn't get him the football. He got suspended for punching a guy in the helmet during practice. I remember that. He had career lows in catches, touchdowns. Yeah, we get it. He's clearly not the same player he was the 2 prior seasons. He was the NFL catch leader a couple of seasons ago, and then he just had a bad season. He was on my fantasy team as well, and he did not do well. He got hurt a lot. And that's why he was on Twitter a lot. And so he missed a lot of the season. I think he's going to have a bounce-back year with either Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston throwing the football. I don't know who he's going to be. But I definitely think Michael Thomas is going to have a bounce-back year. 54 is Chandler Jones. After getting double-digit sacks in 5 straight seasons, he was limited to 5 games last season because of a torn bicep muscle. He had just 1 sack, but you have to think he can get back to his pre-injury form. Yeah, I think that along with J.J. Watt, Chandler Jones is going to be back to his really good form. I think he's going to be a good player. And the Cardinals' defense is going to be interesting to watch this season. 53 is Darius Leonard. He had 132 tackles, 3 sacks, and 7 pass defenses. He is a playmaking linebacker in the middle of their defense who has a lot of good football in front of him. Yeah, Darius Leonard's a monster. He's one of the best linebackers in the league. Not just outside, not just young. He's one of the best linebackers in the league. And 53 is a good spot for him. He needs to have another good season to prove it, but 53 is a good spot. 52 is Darius Smith. He followed up his 13.5 sack season in 2019 with a 12.5 sack season in 2020. He continues to be a matchup problem for offensive lines with his ability to move inside and outside as a rusher. Darius Smith is good. Darius Smith is good. He's consistent. He doesn't get hurt a lot. He's quick. He's a good cover guy. He can rush the quarterback. I think that he's going to have another solid season. Maybe not double-digit sacks, maybe like 10. But he's still going to be a very consistent player for the Packers. 51 is Budda Baker, and the final guy we will talk about in this video. He has really emerged as one of the best safeties in the league. He's outstanding in the run game and has really improved his pass catching. Budda Baker was kind of unknown for a couple of seasons coming out of Washington, but he's really, like they said, he's really turned into something in the NFL. He's very good. He's a good cover guy. Well, he's working on his cover. He's a much better pass rusher. He's a much better run stopper. He is, I don't know if he's one of the best safeties in the league, but he is definitely in the conversation for top 10 safeties in the league. And I don't know if that is one of the best. I'd say that one of the best would be like top 5, top 6. So if he has another good season, he definitely will be up there. But I don't know if I'd consider him one of the best safeties in the league because there's a lot of good safeties in this list. I'd probably even have Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons even higher than Budda Baker. But, hey, that's just my list. So that's going to do it. We have the top 50 to 1, and as you can see, a little sneak peek, Dak Prescott is 50. So we'll talk about that tomorrow's video unless something happens in the world of the NFL. It is past the time where people can get traded, so there might be some crazy moves that happen, and I have to cover that. So this video probably will be the next video that you see in the morning, but who knows? Something crazy could happen. So make sure that you hit that like button if you did enjoy this. Let me know if you guys agree with this list, if you guys agree with me on some of my opinions, if you disagree with me, if you'd have any of these guys higher or lower or just anything. Let me know down below in the comments. Smash that subscribe button as well. Join the Juice Club, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace!